Hello there and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. This time I'm going to talk about the final chapter, or at least what seems to be the final chapter of the summer events in Simulanka. There is another another little quest, which I think most likely is going to be an epilogue of sorts. If it's something really big, I will be making another video on it. It unlocks in like 8 hours from now, so that would come out tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see about that. So, what did I think of this part? It's so frustrating in a way because it was very short. I finished the story, the main part of the story, in 1 hour, but I did go straight for the story, right? I wanted to push the story, focus on it, and then go through it and see what it's all about. But the thing is, this time it wasn't the journey that was that was satisfying. It was the final part that was uber satisfying. There were so many, not necessarily lore reveals, where there was a pretty big lore reveal in my opinion, but showing us the relationship between the Hexen Circle members and even outside of their just pure Hexen Circle circle. The Hexen Circle literally means circle of witches, so why did I say circle? Anyway, that's besides the point. But first, before I go into detail, I want to go and talk about the side quest. Once again, we do not have a continuation of The Princess and the Frog, which is very sad in my opinion, because we could have easily had that alongside whatever other quest. We also don't seem to have a voiced quest this time like we had with Carrara. So it's like the first area had technically three quests. The second area that were non-voiced with the Princess and the Frog. Then the second area had the Kirara side quest, which was pretty cool. And the third part had another side quest that has mostly to do with mostly showing how traveling for a very long amount of time can change you and the relationship that you have with your friends, sometimes in bad ways and sometimes in good ways, because you go into the new area where there's a fallen lighthouse, and there you meet one of the little toy people who wants to put up the light, light back up in order to have his friend come back from his venture that he went on. Which it seems like these ventures actually go into the real world, which I'm like, why have we never seen any of these toy people in Teyvat before? Of course, it's because they didn't think of this event until, I don't know, 2 patches earlier, so that's why we haven't, but yeah. So you do have to go ahead and get the light back up. You try to put it up in a tree on an island, and that's where you meet someone who has a negative experience with a friend who went venturing, because that friend changed so much to the point where they're not really on friendly terms anymore. The guy at the tree wants to be friends, but the other guy is like very sad. I'm not sure. I'm kind of surprised that we didn't get an actual finale to that. Maybe if I do go back to the tree, there's something more, but I would have to go check that now. Well, anyway, and then you have to go to that guy at the tree tells you about the goddess statues that can fulfill a wish. Which I guess is the thing that we've been hearing in the first area when talking about the 3 different goddesses, the goddess of creation, prophecy, and fate, that at the end of the world you could get a wish fulfilled. Anyway, you go there and you realize that you have to bring something that represents armor, something that represents a weapon, and something that represents the wish. The armor already being there, which is Scale of the Dragon, which we'll talk about that because that's very interesting. And then you go find a Horn of the Dragon to use as the weapon, and of course you use the light as the wish. The light goes up into the sky or something like that, and then the friend of the guy at the lighthouse comes back. And in the end, I'm not sure if it's an actual choice, because it does feel like it. If you choose, at least I chose to tell the guy from the lighthouse that there's lots of things that you can find in the outside world, and that made him think to go with his friend on an adventure. I wonder if you choose the other one, the one where it's like, this world is also cool. If you say that, and if you choose to say that, if the lighthouse guy doesn't decide to go with his friend and their relationship deteriorates. I'm actually curious about that. Anyway, with the side quest out of the way, it was pretty good. It does make you explore a tiny bit, and here's the thing. do follow the three little wish stars on the island with the three goddess statues, because one of them can lead you to a pretty cool Easter egg. I'm not gonna say much more other than the fact that you're gonna like it if you've played the previous summer events. That was a really nice surprise. Anyway, with the side quest out of the way, what about the main quest? Why did I leave the main quest for, the second part? Well, mainly because the side quest was not that eventful, other than, that room with the Easter egg room. So, the main story quest starts, of course, at the station. You take the train, you go there, you beat a couple hilichurls, and you get to the Broken Sea. Well, you fall pretty much onto one of the islands, but it ends up that Mr. Hat Guy Scaramouche Wanderer is over here as well. Well, we've known because of the trailer, but this is where he's introduced. He saved us all. Well, from this point onwards, we pretty much go straight to fight the dragon. Like, we don't really visit too many of the islands. Most of the island exploration you actually do through the side quest, because you go through a couple smaller islands and then you just go behind a waterfall, and that's where the domain where you go fight the dragon is. And you just kind of see as you go mainly how much the people of Simulanka hate the dragon because of what it's done. But there's a twist, and I can see why they wanted to use Scaramouche / the Wanderer as the actual hero of the story. Yeah, when you meet the Wanderer for the very first time, he has the hero of the sword. So canonically, he is the chosen hero of the story. It's not the Traveler. And I'm gonna explain why the Traveler is even there, even though the Traveler doesn't have a role. Because, Nilou is the forest fairy, Navia is the king of the Constellation Metropole, Kirara is Puss in Boots, Nekomata in Boots, and Wanderer would be the hero. Well, the Traveler is there because I just guessed that, well, the fate of the book or whatever knew that the Wanderer wouldn't really want to be an actual hero, but whatever. Well, there's another reason too, but again, we'll get into that when we get to it. So you pretty much go fight the dragon for the very first time, where you fall down into the hole right below the arena, and that's where you first see some memories of this dragon. Some memories that have to do with B and M. B being, of course, being Mona's master, and M being the creator of the books and the witch from the Hexenzirkel who was all about creating storybooks and writing fairy tales and stuff like that. I do not remember if we did get M's name. I know for certain that we got B's name, but I just cannot remember it right now. I'm very sorry about that. And they have a talk saying that this child's fate is pretty much sealed, that it's not going to end well, and because of its namesake, emphasis on the word namesake, it would most likely end in the same way. But there's a chance to change its fate. Again, fate is everywhere here in this event, and I really feel like Natlan's gonna bring some pretty big players when it comes to this fate business. Then you pretty much wake up and you realize, well, the dragon's not really evil. Because the dragon is... I really want to talk about the reveal already, but I have to think of how to go by it without really doing it. Anyway, the dragon didn't mean to stomp all over the place. It didn't mean to turn things into toy blocks. It didn't mean to be evil, as the people say. The first time it actually emerged from the titanium mines, it was looking at a star that it thought it was his mother, because his mother turned into a star. The mother, of course, being M, the person who created the book and created him. Then the next time he attacked the stars at the Constellation Metropole, because again, the whole correlation between M becoming a star in the sky to watch over the dragon. And that's pretty much how you get to the point where the people of, the forest, of the Metropole, and of course of the Broken Sea, hate the dragon because it's seemingly evil. Well, then you go and fight it a second time because, of course, it's not evil, but it still like wants to keep you away. And then in the end, it's actually the Wanderer who calms it down properly. Of course, by first kicking its butt because to calm the guy down, and we get a really nice cutscene where again they talk about the namesake of the dragon and about naming it and its birth. And then guess what's the name of the dragon? I'm gonna give you a hint first. We've known this name since Dragonspine, and that name is Durin. Oh boy, this reveal in it of its own, kind of like the whole lore part of this final bit kind of redeems the entirety of the lack of depth of the story until now. And I'll talk about a bit about why the story kind of lacked depth and why it's not a problem, especially in this update. So yeah, the dragon within Simulanka was named after Durin, the dragon created by Gold Rhindaughter, who, I've kind of forgotten, was also part of the Hexenzirkel. So that means that the other witches within the Hexenzirkel knew about the fact that Gold created Durin and knew that Durin was not evil. Now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense because Durin was most likely not created as an adult dragon that could fight Dvalin and could rival Dvalin, right? So it's most likely that the Hexenzirkel knew about Durin back when Durin was just a baby dragon. And so they knew it was just the cute little puppy guy thing, dragon, flying lizard. I wouldn't be too surprised that's one of the reasons why why M decided to have Durin be recreated within Simulanka, because she knew that Durin was not really evil, even though it did kill a bunch of people, like a lot of people in Mondstadt, and almost killed Dvalin and even poisoned Dvalin. But it was mainly because, well, it didn't know exactly what it was doing, since it wasn't really, I'm not entirely sure exactly. It's a weird thing because Durin was a creation of Gold, right? Then you get a couple manuscripts that are written from the perspective of M. One of them being when M became old and then wrote to the members of the Hexenzirkel that she like her youth was so amazing and so beautiful because she was able to be part of this group of witches. And also another one back from when she was young about the creation of this book. Afterwards, you go to the now Khorne Durin, and you actually go ahead and do a little bit of Simulanka magic, because now it's revealed, well, it's been revealed ever since Nilu's magical spree, that in Simulanka, pretty much your words and your wishes have magical powers. And so you, together with Durin's wish to be able to be friends with everyone, you turn the big blocky dragon into a small, cute little guy. Like, he's so adorable, right? And it's such a nice alternate ending to the story of the real Durin, who right now is possibly not even alive, not even dead, within the middle of Dragonspine as a pure heart of possible agony, continuous agony. And it's so sad to, think back on exactly what happened. And there's so many things that I feel like we still don't know about when it comes to the history of the world. And that's pretty much where it ends. Dvalin, now known as Mini Dvalin, will said that he wants to go ahead and redeem himself by helping people by helping the people that he inconvenienced by, stomping around or taking down the stars, or pretty much destroying a couple islands within the sea, the Broken Sea. So that's pretty much the mission that he's on right now. But there was also like a thing that M wanted at some point the people within the book to one day be able to walk outside in Teyvat. And that's technically kind of happening already within the Broken Sea. Now, I kind of took this as a hope that we're going to get Mini Durin as a pet. That would be amazing, because I think he's small enough. If worst case scenario, he could be made smaller, And he seems to have a unique model, at least for right now. I'm not sure if the model for Mini Durin will be reused during Natlan, because it's entirely possible, since of course there's dragons within Natlan, or at least like dragon descendants. So that's going to be interesting to see how they're going to reuse the model. Because I'm telling you, there's no way Hoyoverse makes a model without thinking of where we can reuse it to save on money. Like, I'm telling you. And there's also the cool thing of the parallel between Durin, especially, well, both Durins, and the Wanderer. And you literally see that the Wanderer throughout his journey in Sumeru, he actually has changed, weirdly enough, right? He's still, of course, his snarky self, but he seems way more mellowed out, more reflective, more melancholic. Of course, there's, again, the whole thing of him being quote-unquote betrayed, but then again, whenever he says that, I always think of the little kid, because that's not really a betrayal, that poor kid dying. But he was betrayed by both his mother and the Dottore at the same time. Technically twice by Dottore, but yeah. And it's cool to see that he's able to relate to a different character that has pretty much the exact same story as him in a way, right? He was abandoned by his mother, then became a creature that seemed evil, and well, then again, we kind of need to not forget about Scaramouche's like killing spree in Inazuma, and the fact that he almost killed a traveler and like took the Gnosis for himself and wanted to become a god to enslave Sumeru. I feel like we should not we should remember that, and remember there's a difference between forgiveness and redemption. Redemption is allowing someone to show that they've changed, while forgiveness would be like forgiving them on the spot. There's a difference, I'm telling you. So now, what are my final thoughts now that I've played this? Of course, if the little small quest that starts tomorrow is anything important, I'll have another video come out for it. But I feel like, generally speaking, I can give out my main thoughts about the story of this event. And oh boy, I'm very mixed at this point. As I've said earlier, it was mainly about the destination rather than the road to it. Because it just felt so The first two chapters felt very meh, in my opinion. The Fortress of Blessings kind of makes sense because it was the first area, you got introduced to the magic system, you got introduced to its inhabitants, but then the Constellation Metropole felt very, very short. Somehow shorter than the Forest of Blessings. But then again, the Forest of Blessings had its quest plus 3 side quests, while the Metropole only had its main quest and a side quest. So that's about that. Again, and it's weirdly enough, in these first two areas, in the Metropole and in the Forest of Blessings, the side quests kind of took the spotlight, while in the Broken Sea, it's entirely the other way around, where the main quest takes the spotlight because of the story it's telling, and also the lore. Like, in the forest, all you learn is, the magic system, and that you're supposedly the hero that has to team up with the fairy to save the kingdom. In the Metropole, you find out that the dragon took the stars, and you gotta get the stars, and there's monsters in the castle. But that's about it. There's no real, huge reveals or anything like that would even give a hint. I feel like maybe having some hints about the dragon's true intentions somehow, next to the humongous paw print in the Forest of Blessing, there's a weird scrolled message that looks like it says sorry, but it's not really too legible. Like, you can make up a couple letters, and it's like big as if it's been scrolled with a dragon with a dragon claw, but of course you can't make out the full text, but as the players we would know, it says sorry. I'm not sure about the maybe in the Constellation Metropole, you could have the word mom scribbled somewhere, but this time more legible, to give more of a hint, or I miss her, and then on one side of the city, and then mom on the other side of the city, something like that, to give some hints of what the dragon's real intentions are. This wouldn't give out the twist that it's based on Durin. It would mainly just be like what you would see in an actual fairy tale, if at least a fairy tale where where the dragon becomes a good guy, because in most of them, like, the dragon is a bad guy and then gets killed by the end. But of course, this is Genshin Impact. We only killed Tepe. Rest in peace, Tepe. Anyway. But I kind of wish some hints would have been given to the player that, hey, maybe the dragon is not really the bad guy. Maybe make it in such a way that it seems like the people are the bad guy, because still, the people aren't the bad guy. They saw a huge dragon coming in, stomping things, stealing their stars, and of course they just reacted in the most normal way possible. So this did, like, make it in such a way to seem that maybe the villagers are the bad guys and the dragon is the good guy, but you're still not sure as the player and as a traveler. And of course the final area was really, really short. There was no real story per se, other than, hey, the dragon, like, destroyed the mountain, not the mountain, destroyed an island, and then its lair is behind the waterfall. But that's about... Oh, there's the reveal that Durin did save a bunch of people and took them to the Broken Sea and to the page below, which I forgot entirely to talk about the page below. In a weird meta-narrative thing, Durin's lair is in the next page. So you have a book, the first page is the Forest of Blessings, the Metropole, and the Broken Sea, and then below it, the second page is Durin's lair, which is such a weird way to think about when it comes to, like, I guess you could say that, the first page is the, surface, and the second page is the underground, I guess. But it's such a weird and interesting meta-narrative sort of device. But yeah, so in the end, I liked chapter 1 and 2's side quests. Those are really cool because it gave us a lot more detail when it comes to the world. I loved chapter 3's main quest because of the huge, well, pretty big reveals right at the end. Overall, I really enjoyed this event. But now comes the next question that I didn't want to talk about it until the finale. And that is talking about people saying that Genshin Impact is a game for children, right? Because we have a fairy tale book that we go into to frolic around, and just because Natlan doesn't look depressed and destroyed. Now, I'm not going to touch on Natlan. I feel like for Natlan specifically, we need to wait for its story, because if we don't wait for its story, then we're judging a book by its cover. And while generally speaking, the cover is what gives you the reason to read the book, it's not always a good idea to judge them by the cover. Now, when it comes to this event, can we not remember that this is like a summer event? Like, people, please, it's a summer event for Genshin Impact. Up until this point, none of the summer events were overly dark, and I feel like we've gotten the reveal of the same level as, the more serious parts of the previous events. Of course, in the previous, like, I cannot talk about the first summer event, the first Archipelago event, but I can talk about the second one. I feel like in the second one, most we got was like some Xinyan backstory, and that she wants to just sing whatever she wants to sing. Kazuha backstory, which was sad, but it was more of like reveal and whatnot. I don't even remember what we got for Mona, and it was mainly a official sort of centric event, where we got to deal with her alternate self as the Prinzessin. But again, nothing too dark, I would say. Like, knowing Kazuha's backstory isn't really a dark thing, even though it's pretty sad on its own. And then last year, when we had the Mirage, the only real depressing part I can sort of remember from it was the fact that most of the people within the Mirage were actually clones, like water clones created, in order to keep the dreams of the people that have most likely died alive within the Mirage. Which is a depressing but sort of at the same time kind of wholesome thing, in my opinion. And now we have this story that pretty much reflects reality by showcasing an alternate version of how Durin's story could have ended. Right? If Durin wasn't a creature made from the Abyss's power and whatnot. And while, yes, there isn't as much, like, depth to it, or it's not really as dark, like, don't we really deserve a bit of a break after Fontaine? And especially like Farina's story, Nouvelette's story, the way the Melusines were treated in the past. Pretty much almost everyone dying within Fontaine, unless you know the last minute activation of Falsalor's execution. Falsalor literally died in order to stop Celestia from using the power of Hydro and giving it back to Nouvelette. Like, I feel like Fontaine in general was so heavy when it comes to, and so dark when you really think about it, that I feel like a little bit of a break from darkness was more than welcome now within this event. Also, we need to realize that we're going into Natlan next. And even if Natlan is a bit more happy-go-lucky and it's a bit more colorful when it comes to it and not as heavy or dark, it might just be because it could be an intermediate chapter before Snezhnaya. And not only do we have Snezhnaya, which is most likely going to delve very heavily into the lore, we also have Khaenri'ah later after that. So I feel like this is going to go in two ways. Either Natlan is going to be a misdirection. The whole, like, all the trailers being so happy looking is a total misdirection of what angle the story is going to take, or two, and it's going to be very dark. Or two, Natlan is going to be more of an intermission kind of thing. Yeah, we still are dealing with the Narcon, we're still dealing with the Gnosis, we still have the Fatui, but the story isn't going to go as dark as Sumeru or as Fontaine, mainly because, as I said, it would be an intermission before the true darkness of the lore coming within Snezhnaya and Khaenri'ah. Of course, I would love to see the plot being as heavy and as dark as up until this point, because again, we're slowly building up to the climax of the story, and this whole build-up should start now with Natlan. And Natlan not only being the region of war, but also the region where the dragons pretty much went, and where the descendants of those dragons are, I feel like should play a very, very important role within the story. Again, as I said, we cannot really judge Natlan's story yet because we don't have it. We haven't even really seen the proper 5.0 trailer that could give us a glimpse into how the story is going to go. So yeah, that's where I want to leave it. Guys, just enjoy this event for what it is. Pure joy and pure fun. Have fun. I know that Genshin has its own problems, and I do not deny them, and I do not deny criticisms in any way. I also hate whenever we have a dry patch where there's almost nothing to do, and all I do is just log in and do my dailies, because I do want myself to also play the game and experience the lore and the world and the characters. But when we get a patch with a pretty decent story, and then all people do is call it a children's game because of the way the story is sold and the way they chose to do to showcase it through a storybook setting, I feel like that's a bit too much. It just feels like the whole Genshin hatred has gotten to a point where even the slightest little mistake or thing that's not specific to the players is now being attacked and berated online. Again, criticism is welcome for any and every game, but not to the point where we hate unnecessarily on an update that was actually really fun, both story-wise and exploration-wise, because the puzzles were really, really good, and I really liked the new ways that they introduced to do puzzles, and I hope they return in Natlan. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've ranted, I think, a bit more about this whole issue rather than about the story itself and about the update, but whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed it either way. So yeah, if you did end up enjoying it, why not leave a like, comment, or even subscribe? I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.